what I was looking for here, just so everybody knows, because I was talking about doji here, out of 2650. Oh, that works. Yeah, that was pretty big then. That should be a decent payout. What I was looking for here, we got no, not much of, I'm not gonna say no, not much of a top wick here. And this candle was just hesitating around. Remember, it came in and broke the highs, but it was like right here. And I was just sitting here playing around. What I was hoping for here was that we just had a doji candle and it really didn't break the high again. So what I was hoping for with this would be a doji, and then we could take the next candle once it drove down, like essentially it's doing now, right? And then flipped up, but the flip up would have been somewhere more like here and filled this range, and then, you know, expect it to come up and essentially do the same exact thing that this candle did. So it did it a little early. Can you take the flip of this candle? You can. I wouldn't. It's a really ugly place, but you can. If you took the break of this high, you can anticipate at least the recovery of this top wick. So the problem is your stop loss is going to be like 38 ticks. Your take profit's going to be like 28. It's just not great. That might catch the run that comes up to test this area. The only thing I don't like is this reject. I mean, we basically came into this level and rejected it. I mean, and what you were wanting was to be a part of making it up to that level, you know what I mean? Not trying to trade up to it after the rejection. Again, not saying that it won't continue to move up, because obviously it can, but I like the doji close here without breaking these highs to where your top wick was, you know, in this general vicinity here, and you close doji, and then next candle could have opened up, put on a bottom wick, flipped, and you would have been in, like I said, somewhere around here in order to run this whole move up. But not so much, not how it worked out. So, and again, same thing earlier, right? We had a position that we could have took on this break here, right? But our problem with it was the exact same thing. You know, our level was here. Everybody already knows our level was here. We could have took the break. So here's where our level was. We could have took the break of this candle, but it came in and put no bottom wick on. So we got no bottom wick, came up, put on doji. It actually went up first. I don't know if you guys were paying a lot of attention, but it came up first and then came down and put a massive bottom wick and then went up. So it just wasn't there for an entry. Just wasn't there. So let's see what we can do. Oh, I didn't turn my stuff off yet. I'm sorry. What do I got to turn off here? Mic. Oh. And this will probably fill the range here, guys. If she goes up and she breaks these highs, and again, it's 9:30, so I'd wait for the next candle, but whoever's scalping in Q right now, right? Just like we talked about before, I'd try to run it on 800, and what I would do if it were me would be wait for this 30 to close, 1 minute, wait for the next candle to come in, and make sure that you have a bullish candle, and then look for that pullback and continuation basically on your 800 tick chart. So look for the 800 to come back and give you an opportunity to go long, because she's been trying to fill this. You should at least hit yesterday's high, I would assume, but I bet it gets swept and you fill this gap that we opened up for the weekly open. So that's the way I'd play that for you guys that do trade in Q right now. But again, wait for this, right? Because this next candle could come in bear and come back and test this. There's your, see? I would wait now for an opportunity to get in, which is right about probably there, depending on if you're on an 800 tick chart. How many ticks do we have there? See? really? That's already 105 ticks? Holy moly. Anyway, you guys know what you're looking for. I missed the hack. Stop loss 30, but POC was only 20. Yeah, that's always tough. You know, that's tough because a lot of times you only get POC on the hack. Can you explain flip of the candle and why it's important? You talking about from gold, what we were just talking about, Paul? There's the fill, just like I said. Hopefully you guys that trade NQ are getting this, because it should sweep these highs down, fill that gap, just like we were talking about. Could have been a pretty decent position there after breaking those highs. Yeah, you know, 170-ish ticks. Should sweep past here. Really should pop up. You should see a pop here for yesterday's high. Just waiting. Should be a pop up. It'll probably pop out of the box when it does it. A little bit. I don't know why I'm looking at NQ right now. I guess just because I'm talking you guys through it, but there it goes. Popped out. That's what you were looking for there. And it can still continue. So if you're in this position, make sure to drag your stop. You should be good. Like I said, you should be, you know, close to 200 ticks up. So I'd still drag it because it would not surprise me. This anchored VWAP up here, it would not surprise me if we don't get up and touch that. Even more so get up to like 18,670. So if you're in it, I would be dragging my stop and running with it now. I would not be taking profit at that, at the closure of that gap there. The fill of the gap, or however you want to look at it. All right. Now, yes, please. Oh, on gold. Yeah. Okay, so the reason, are you talking about, I mean, just to flip in general? Yeah, okay. Well, the reason for flips is because about 87% of candles have top and bottom wicks. So you're always going to anticipate that you have a top and bottom wick, right? That the candles have wicks on them. So that's part of it. But also, if you have a candle that's drawn down, so say, especially on gold, say this candle right here, just for instance, and again, we'll just let that candle be the candle right now. Again, we're stuck in this ugly, ugly range, so who knows? But you've came up now to, you know, they'll try to induce long, stop out shorts, and that's what that initial wick is to the other side, especially when you're at levels, right? And obviously we're not at one now. We're stuck in a tight consolidation range, but like here, there's no wick, so you anticipate that this candle is going to put on a top wick here. It'll probably come up, pop through this stuff, stop everybody out, and then come back down, flip, and run down here and put a bottom wick on these candles here, right? Possibly here if we continue to move down. But the reason that it happens is because probability of candles having wicks is over 80% first. And number two, this is basically the trap move. Everybody always says, well, price goes up and down. Absolutely. On high time frames, that's essentially what it's doing, is trapping by pushing these candles up and faking bullish and then coming back and candle flipping bearish and going back down. That's, you know, the ultimate trap traders too. So you see it. Can't chat. Yeah, you're fine. So you'll see it happen time and time and time again. That's why you'll see a lot of times when your positions play out here, you'll see a lot of times that they come up and they just go a tick or two above the highs. Why? Well, I mean, just like we always say, somebody went short here. You got shorts here, right? And they're all going short to short this back down. This candle comes in. Now your stop losses are probably above that candle. So now they come above this structure with a wick here, pop a wick out, stop out all the shorts, induce longs thinking that we're going long, and then they'll come back down, flip this candle and go back bearish. I mean, as far as a mindset, right? As far as how the mind, you know, the psychological part of this game plays, that's essentially where you're at. You know, and again, I like to call it a lot like poker when we sit here and talk about it, right? Because, and Jeff, you know this, right? When you have X hand, you know what I mean? You're still playing psychologically against whoever's still in that hand. It's not so much a game of, I've got a better hand. Yeah, Jeff. I've got a better hand than you. It's a, I'm going to represent my hand as a better hand than yours, you know, under certain circumstances. So essentially the psychological part of this is similar. So essentially, right, if a, you know, flop comes that is whatever, you know, and you guys that don't understand poker, it's going to be hard to explain it to you guys, but Jeff understands what I'm talking about. Flop comes, it's whatever. A lot of people are going to see bet, even though they don't have anything on the hand. And it's kind of a trap move if you check through. And I do a lot of that in poker. I do a lot of checking through. It's funny because yesterday, the guy that I was talking about that was the big stack, Jeff, I wanted to make sure I got his money. That's what I was there to do. Right? And, he had me, I bluffed on a river and made a pretty substantial bet. First coming in, I think it was about pot and a half, 2 times pot, and got called. And had to show ace king, you know, ace high, bullshit, had nothing, right? And then a few hands later, I caught a full house against the big stack. It was just me and him that were in the hand, and I checked it through, and he tried to put a pretty aggressive bet on the river, and I snap called him pretty quick, and then, you know, I showed the full house, got him, you know, made a little bit on that, and he started putting me on every time I'm checking. I've got the nuts. Every time I'm betting hard, I'm, you know, drawing or basically, you know, trying to buy the pot. And I could tell this because he was a real aggressive player, and I started checking, and he'd just check it back to me. Well, he wasn't checking back anybody at the table except for me. So I knew this was kind of what his thoughts were in his head, and that's why I played that hand like I did. When I caught that hand that we were talking about when we came in, basically I had pocket queens. He had pocket aces. I didn't know that at the time. I was concerned he had pocket kings. But anyways, a short stack went all in. When I raised, he raised, you know, the large stack raised, and then the short stack went all in, and we called there. And then once the flop came, I went half pot, and the pot was pretty considerable at that point. And I think that's kind of what kept him in the game too, not just the aces. I mean, at the end of the day, he ended up with a full house, you know, which is great. I just had a better full house. But either way, I think my betting so aggressive is probably what kept him in. And then when I checked the river, and once I checked the river and he went all in, you know, I tanked for a minute because it was rough. You got 3 8s on the board. You got kings on the board. You know that, you know, players were all in pre-flop, so pocket kings is not out of the question. You know, I would have thought that any 8s wouldn't have been playing, so I wasn't super concerned with the 8 because I'm thinking to myself, right, are you calling a big pre-flop with ace 8 suited? You know what I mean? Pocket 8s possible. Like, I don't, but I could see somebody getting in for pocket 8s. But now that you got 3 on the board, I wasn't as scared of the 8s as I was the pocket kings. The pocket kings was what really had me, you know, worried more than anything, because you know how you always get that over card and you think to yourself, you know, I probably got it here. But it did play out in the end. But yeah, I mean, that's all part of it too. And I've got into this 100 times with everybody on, you know, how poker's a lot of psychology too, right? It's a psychological game just the same. And trading's no different. You have to think about your opponent's psychology. And essentially, and people say, what do you mean your opponent? Well, there's other traders out here trading. And in order for you to win, they have to lose. So how can you take advantage of their psychology in order for you to put yourself in a winning position, right? So it's not as much different than poker as people think it is. People have to lose for you to win in a poker game too, you know? The house doesn't actually have the odds, and it's the same thing in the market. The house doesn't actually have the odds. I mean, whoever you're going to call the house, right? Who are you going to call them? The broker, the exchange? They don't really have the odds, you know? You may be able to argue that fact if you're playing with crypto or you're playing with Forex. You may be able to argue the fact that they've got, you know, their spreads for their odds and fixing prices and yada, yada, yada. But we trade futures. The house really doesn't have odds. You're paying, you know, a commission. Just like, there's that drop right there. Exactly what we're talking about. Just like paying your rake, right? It's the same exact thing. So who are we against? We're against everybody else that's opening positions in this market. So we want to find the weak hands in this market and take advantage of them. So like the poker table, you're trying to do the same thing. You're trying to find the weak hands around the poker table that you can make money off of.